Hello and welcome to another thought experiment. My name's David Barron, and I guess I should explain what I want to accomplish when I do these thought experiments. I want you to be able to comfortably think deeply and profoundly about your life, and I want you to be able to get used to sometimes experiencing cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when you begin to notice that two things that you hold very important to yourself contradict each other. And it's moment in the moment, it can be very confusing. It can even be very uncomfortable, but it's something that is puts us very much on the urge, on the very threshold of discovering things that are very important. So I would encourage you first and foremost to seek out cognitive dissonance. Find those things within your life that contradict each other. It may be the values that are most important to you and the values that society and your culture and your subculture have given you. And they may be they may be conflicting. So you may have to do some deep thought about it. What I want to talk about today is a phrase that sort of burned itself into my mind when I realized that there was something I wanted to do that was important to myself and maybe contribute to the world. The phrase is very simple. Every thought, word, and action is linked to my purpose and destiny. I'll repeat that. Write it down if you need to. Every thought, word, and action is linked to my purpose and destiny. Now let's talk about that for a moment. Let's assume you have an ambition, a goal, like you feel as though you're meant to do something, and maybe you even know what that is. We'll talk about it if you don't in a moment. But let's assume you have a purpose, a goal, something that you want to contribute to the world and leave as part of your legacy. If you hold that in your mind, what you can begin to do is begin to try and figure out how you're going to link everything that happens in your present, right now experience to that purpose, to that destiny. So every thought, everything you think would be linked to that. Every word that you speak and every action you take would be linked to that. That's a really huge responsibility and a very profound thing to think about because we think about a lot of things that aren't related to anything important. You ever see someone scrolling on Instagram endlessly? Yeah, that's a good example. That may speak to someone you know personally. But every thought, what would happen if you started to pay attention to every thought and ask yourself, just put it through a simple filter. Is this going to help me accomplish my goal? Likewise, have you ever known someone who says the first thing on their mind without putting it through a filter and wondering if it even needs to be heard? Well, what happens if everything you say is linked to your purpose and destiny? So, in other words, it will somehow bring that into place. And likewise, everything that you do. What would happen if everything you do is linked to your purpose and destiny? A couple of things you'll experience if you ponder this and put it into action is you'll feel, first of all, slightly more driven that what you're doing is important. You may feel a sense of urgency, even though maybe what you're accomplishing almost seems impossible. Right now, that's fine because what you're doing is you're aligning yourself to your hopes, your goals, and your ambitions. As much as people nowadays focus on aligning AI, artificial intelligence, with human values, unfortunately, most of us haven't even aligned ourselves to our own values. And that's what it's going to do. It's going to have you focus off in the future to what your ambition and your goal and your purpose is, but also focus in the very moment to what you're doing right now. And if you do this, it feels very good. It gives a sense of energy and direction to everything that you're doing. Now, the question comes back. First of all, what if you don't have, or you don't know yet what your purpose is? Well, you start with the assumption you're going to find it. And then you use that as your purpose and destiny. So, in other words, if you feel you have a purpose or destiny, think of the values that should bring you to that. Think of the virtues that you want to demonstrate, the actions you want to live by. Think of how you want to demonstrate yourself in the world. And if you make a mistake, you're going to have to make corrections along that lines, but it's all part of the path. Also consider another question, which is, what would happen if your purpose and your destiny is so far out? I mean, I know people who they want to leave something far beyond themselves. In other words, they want to be able to have a legacy upon which the world can stand. That is probably even more motivating and more compelling, but it's not necessary. It even more urgently makes you focus on what you're doing right now. And it allows you easily to do things that are much more uncomfortable than they normally, to feel comfortable doing things that are normally uncomfortable for you. So I would love to know what you think of this experiment and those words. So there are comments down below. You're welcome to reach out to me personally. I'll give a link in the information below, but also I would just like you to post your thoughts and ideas in the comments. And let's go from there. Once again, that phrase is, every thought, word, and action is linked to my purpose and destiny. Thank you very much for taking part. I look forward to reading your comments. I will follow up on every one of them. Please take care. Until the next thought experiment. Thank you.